Man, it's T-Man. We're back again with another video with the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slave himself, JasonBlaha. So we're going to react to Blaha's video again because he's on a roll. He's popping out these videos like left and right. There's so many to do on this. I guess he's desperate for money. Anyway, so Blaha says exercise variation keeps overuse risks low. Man, he just did another video where it's live and he's talking about accessory work, this, that, gotta train like bodybuilders. Meanwhile, it's, again, he's referring to powerlifting, and bodybuilding is not based on the principles of fake powerlifting sport, the fake strength sport.
Exercise variation largely benefits us by preventing overuse. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. This is, again, we get into these topics too where there's a lot of debate as to how many exercises we really need to build a muscle. You know, we have the studies.
How many exercises do we need to really build a muscle? That's a good question. How many exercises does it take to build a muscle? None. Zero.
Do show that some variation, doing 2 or 3 exercises can absolutely seem to help a small amount with muscle growth.
No, well, you want to know why? Because exercises do not build muscles. They can cause, things in the nervous system, stress on the myofibrillar, a cell, and it absorbing water because of this inflammation, or it can, how should I put it? It can get some damage. That's if you're getting an adaptation. But if it's adapted, there's no damage there. So what are you doing there? Nothing. You're inflaming the muscle consistently. You're causing an inflammatory response. So you're going into the gym to cause inflammation in your muscles. So the cells fill up with water, and you walk around like a bag of water. A lot of people do this. They come in 6 days, 7 days a week, and they just inflame their muscles with inflammation, with the cells with water. They fill up with water, and they walk around with an inflammatory response. And then they come back to inflame the muscles again, all over again. They repeat it all over again. How crazy is that, huh? Tell me, how crazy are people lifting in the gym these days? They have no motivation, no goal. Their whole motivation, so I gotta go to the gym, man. I gotta lift because, I'm lifting slave, bro. I gotta inflame my muscles 6 days, 7 days a week. Is that intelligence? Is that intelligent? And then they pretend that they're strong, right? They go, well, I took up powerlifting. I lift this heavy weight, this, that. Meanwhile, there's nothing going on there. They're adapted to their exercises. The eccentric is completely dead because it's completely adapted. And then they go, well, I got these newbie gains. Yeah, it's not newbie gains. It's protecting gains. It's gains to protect you from getting any more gains. Get it, man? Let me explain this one more time in this effing video. When you get newbie gains, that word newbie gains means protective gains. It's to protect you from getting any more what? Any more gains. That's why they call it noob gains. But in science, they call it sarcomeres in series and in parallel. Okay? But the reason why it gets gains right there, the gains that it gets from that damage, it can't keep getting more gains from that one cycle of newbie gain. Get it? They call it an MND size limit. In other words, you got a relative amount of damage. You were untrained, right? You came in the gym, you lifted weights, right? You got a fusion of these what? These nuclei. Now, I don't know how much damage you got in this so-called newbie gain phase, okay? I can't fucking tell you when you got these adaptations. You understand me? I don't know how many myofibrillars were damaged and how many you got in series or in parallel, the newbie gains. Get it, man? And so I can't tell you that. And so what happens is, depending on the amount of damage you get, it reaches a limit. There's a limit how much nuclei can be donated by the satellite cell to repair in series and in parallel these myofibrillars, and you call it newbie gains. Get it? So now during that hypertrophic process, when you got damaged, it reached the ceiling limit. You understand me? Beyond where the satellite cell can't donate any more of its nuclei to support further muscle growth. So what do you need to do? You need to shoot for a new adaptation. Get it, man? Christ.
Bodybuilders have done it that way, and I always tell people, look, combining a couple exercises, especially maybe a compound and an isolation, always a good idea. Just like triceps right there, talking about triceps.
What about
pretty good data
triceps?
showing that benching and doing, a leg extension builds bigger triceps.
A what? Builds bigger triceps? None of these things build bigger triceps. The amount of, if you can get an adaptation and damage in your triceps, they will build bigger and stronger. If you don't, they will not build bigger and stronger. It's really simple. That's it.
Just doing one or
That's
the
it,
other,
bro.
right? They do seem to
There's
work
nothing,
different
listen,
parts of the
there's nothing to
tricep.
stay there. They will not grow bigger and stronger. If you want to get better at lifting, that doesn't make you bigger and stronger. Getting good at lifting concentrically heavy weights in the concentric form, overloading, does not make you bigger. You understand me? It makes you better, but it won't make you bigger and stronger. It makes you better and stronger concentrically at lifting that weight. That's all it does, really. In other words, it won't build you any myofibular growth. Now, as far as your bones too, they may get some because it's compounded. It's you're still lifting heavy weights. But guess what? You get micro tears in your bone when your muscles get micro teared as well. And so they grow even stronger through these micro tears. You understand what I'm trying to explain to you? But just lifting the way he does powerlifting doesn't cause micro tears in the muscle or the fiber. You get what I'm trying to explain to you? That's why eccentric exercise, there's more force going down with the weight. It causes these micro tears because we're always in the eccentric phase. As bodybuilders, we stay in the eccentric. We do not move out of the realm of eccentric into concentric because we can't. Because we're lifting heavier than the concentric people. We lift heavier than them. They're losers. They're losers. They lift lightweight. You're lifting heavier weight than them. Astronomically heavier.
The studies looked at it, they found preferential growth in different heads of the tricep, comparing pressing, like bench pressing.
No, they didn't.
Comparing pressing, like bench pressing, even close.
No, they didn't. He's lying. You know what? You want to know what growth they found there? Sarcoplasmic growth, that's why.
Like that, with an extension, right? And they found the best overall growth when both were done in the same program. So again, when we're dealing with muscles with different functions,
holy
like a
shit,
tricep that has two major functions, yep, totally makes sense. Totally makes sense, and I don't think anyone's going to really disagree with that. But there's also been other data showing stuff like curls. That's not necessarily true. There's been some studies on that showing that one type of curl seems to get everything done, really.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay.
In terms of just overall growth, it's just been a lot of debate. And a lot of the differences in some of the studies in upper lower is how much brachialis and radial brachialis and stuff is involved when they do MRIs. So all of that aside, though, here's what we have to think about. What's the number one cause of injuries? Overuse.
No, the number one cause of injuries are weak powerlifters that move into the realm of eccentric and then they get injured. That's what.
Okay.
These weak powerlifters. Get it, man?
We're rotating and changing stuff. It helps prevent a lot of that. So we can make big debates about the gains. I do still...
Look, you can debate this forever, man. I can disprove everything that you say, and I can use science to dismantle everything that he says. And anybody that writes me on my channel, I can dismantle them using science because they don't know what they're talking about. And they even lack experience. They regurgitate stuff. They saw something in science. But I'm using experience. That's how I was able to find the answers. And I use experience and my knowledge, and I use science to explain it. But they come out, try to come on my channel, and then they try to say, I'm going to debunk you. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Meanwhile, they have done nothing because they don't have any experience. They just regurgitate, make up stuff, or they pop something up. They don't even understand what they're talking about.
Generally believe we need at least 2 exercises to maximally develop any given muscle, right? 2, if not 3.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
But what's the other thing that we deal with? Well, we get into these topics of volume. How much volume are you...
Look, my channel's not a learning channel, bro. Like I said, I just do fucking, reaction videos. Okay, so when I react in my videos, I talk about these truths, these things. Much like this guy Gotis in his videos. He talks about food and other stuff that people are doing. See what I mean? he's right. He's right about a lot of stuff that he's talking about, and he's right about everything. Just I agree with everything he says in his videos. You understand me? There's some things he doesn't understand about lifting. He doesn't understand the regenerative effect, the sarcomeres and all that in lifting. He was a lifting slave, so he became discouraged because he was lifting, but he wasn't getting anywhere because he too doesn't understand the fundamentals of lifting weights, what builds muscles, what regenerates you, what builds muscles, what makes you stronger. He didn't understand that. So he goes against it and says that it's bad for you, it has no health benefits, yada, yada, yada. I don't know about health benefits in lifting. See what I mean? I don't know about health benefits. Health comes with what you eat, definitely. I agree with things that he says in his channel, the food and all that. And I agree, all these people he's talking about, these fake bodybuilders and fake lifters and power lifters and whatever. I agree with everything that he says in there, yeah. If you're lifting concentrically and doing weird stuff and you're adapted, whatever, of course it's bad lifting. You know what I mean? You're deteriorating faster than you're aging.
To do. Right? If we're only doing 5-6 sets a week for a muscle group, not that big of a deal, right? We're not worried about it.
5-6 weeks for a muscle group. You do one muscle once a week. That's it. And you do a variety of all these muscles so they get overworked at the same time. So you can overcome this, so you can get an adaptation. You know, they're adapted. They're resilient from further assault. So you have to assault them. You have to assault them, get it? To get them to damage. If you don't assault them, they won't get damaged. If there's not enough assault, they won't get damaged. And then they won't grow bigger and stronger. You won't get more of them.
Overuse so much. As much. What we start worrying about is we start exceeding about 10 sets a week. That's a point where we have to say, look, we need to work different angles. Okay, and a lot of stuff, and again, I'm talking about for more advanced lifters sometimes, right? Novices, look, I can give you guys 6 exercises and get you probably about as big as you're going to get. Okay, not a problem. You're probably not going to get overuse. You use good form, good fatigue management.
If you use good form management, you won't get overuse. You're overusing it. If you're working out 6 days a week, 5 days a week, even 3 days a week, you're overusing your muscles. They're adapted. And if they're adapted, you're overusing it because you keep doing more because you think if I do more, it'll magically build me a muscle if I just exercise myself. Exercising a muscle doesn't build a muscle. You understand me? Muscles don't build exercising. Well, you could build sarcoplasmic, the sarcoplasm, definitely exercising. I don't know how much fucking carbohydrates you're eating there or whatever you're eating. You understand me? I don't know what you're doing there. But they don't build lifting, and they only get damaged. They get damaged. Weights can damage them, but if they're adapted, they won't damage. Right. And every time they adapt bigger and stronger, you have to come back bigger and stronger again against them to get them to damage.
Not going to be an issue, but
so that's why we lift so heavy eccentrically bodybuilders, because we're trying to get more myofibrillar growth. It's a task. Like, you need to lift heavy. You are forced to lift heavy to get a new adaptation, because they're not gonna just damage and get bigger and stronger if you don't do anything. If you just lift like these other people in the gym, full range of motion, weird, throwing weights around, doing stuff isometrically, concentrically, or whatever, bro. You understand me? You're not gonna get anything there. You're not gonna go nowhere.
More advanced lifters, like right here, you'll see me doing.
I like how he says advanced lifters. But does he sound like an advanced lifter? No, absolutely not, because Blaha doesn't know what he's doing. Why does he take, if he was an advanced lifter, why does he have to take steroids?
A vertical pull,
whatever,
and a horizontal pull, and then some curls afterwards.
Whatever.
And actually on that same day, I did stuff like some rows for my upper back and everything. But like some incline.
Look at this, concentric.
But my too big.
This is concentric. He's using his arms. It's a concentric exercise. Look at the back. Look at his arms. Watch.
The ones right here. These are the big ones. Weighted pull-ups, seal rows.
See? He's pulling with his arms. Yes, I'm trying to explain to you. He's using his arms. It's a back exercise. So why isn't he using his back? Why?
And yes, I do the seal rows with 225. That's 2 plates aside. And yes, I use a cambered bar.
Look, he's squeezing.
Someone brought that up.
Look at his legs. They kind of bounce up and down in the back when he squeezes. Watch.
Sometimes
Squeezes.
you're like, I thought you're here.
Pop, pop. Look at his leg. They rose. Look at how they rose. He's squeezing. Look at his face. Squeeze. Squeezing a muscle doesn't do anything, bro.
Hitting the bench. I'm like, no, I'm not hitting the bench. The bar doesn't touch it. I'm running a McDonald camber bar. There's like 6 inches of camber in the middle. So
He did absolutely nothing there. 3 reps squeezing something. No wonder why he has no development. There's no development going on.
and then we do some curls.
Of course, they're concentric
Like to do
curls.
every-
Look, he's practically touching his nose. These are concentric curls because the eccentric is adapted. You understand me? It's adapted. What the fuck, man?
There's 2 different types of curls. I think it's a good idea. But overuse. And this is something that they figured out at one.
Now you understand. You people understand that bodybuilding is based on the principles of eccentric lifting. It is not based on concentric. But he thinks he could carry over powerlifting into bodybuilding. That's why he's lifting concentrically. You see the weight goes all the way up to his nose. Look.
This is how
Voila. You understand me? That's how powerlifters train. And then they just they drop it at the bottom. They drop it. They don't use control. Watch him drop it. Watch.
they got away with maxing out every week. All the
See how it came down like it was nothing? He doesn't need to control it because it's so light going down. Watch.
So they got away.
Now, when they deadlift, right? It goes up really heavy. So why don't they just bring it down? Because they can't, because they're weak. So what do? They drop it. So in this case, Blaha, look at this. He thinks that bodybuilding is about lifting light weights. So he does his arms light, and then he complains, why aren't they growing? Well, because you're adapted. If you can lift for a full concentric, they are adapted. The eccentric is adapted. And we all know that all the growth happens eccentrically in bodybuilding. So what is he doing here exactly? You understand what I'm trying to explain to you? So in powerlifting, they lift the weight off the floor and then they drop it. You want to know why? Because they're weak. Get it? And so they treat weightlifting, they treat everything that they do lifting like with weakness. They never do the eccentric. Look at him. Is this heavy enough? Is this heavy enough where he could just do the eccentric? No, of course not. He does lightweight for the concentric. He thinks that accessory work has to be done light. Well, and then he complains why his arms are not growing. And then he does powerlifting. They lift a heavy weight and then they drop it on the floor. They lift and then they drop. You get the picture, bro. It's all concentric lifting. But how they go about it, it's all different.
Side. This is how they got away with maxing out every week all the time.
West Side maxing out. West Side are a bunch of fake drug addicts.
So they got away with it. They changed exercises.
Yeah, okay, whatever, Blaha.
They changed exercises.
Look at him.
And that's how I got
look
away
at
with it.
him,
A number of
man.
years ago, I was trying to.
You just see him throwing the weights up and down, up and down, up and down. There's nothing going on here. Those arms will never grow. Never.
That crazy thing where I trained
How could they possibly grow?
7 days a week with maxes every day. So I rotated the maxes all the time. Nothing but variations, right? Different bands, chains, bars. Did a max effort upper, a max effort lower every day, and then just follow.
I'm doing max effort, lower, this, that. We don't do that in bodybuilding, Blaha. We don't do max effort, conjugate, this, that, do, ta. We don't do that.
My tons of hypertrophy work, and it worked. I got crazy strong.
We don't do hypertrophy work. You understand me? We do muscle EIMD, muscle damaging work. We don't do hypertrophy training. Only you guys, powerlifting, you do hypertrophy through the sarcoplasm because you lift concentrically. Bodybuilders, you know what we do? We get hyperplasia and then we get some hypertrophy. We hypertrophy because, well, we get more myofibrillars in series and parallel. Get it? So we get 2 in 1. We get hyperplasia, hypertrophy. You just get hypertrophy through the sarcoplasm. Get it, dude? You understand me, man?
Strong.
You understand
Totally
me, man?
Very, very viable approach.
Yeah.
And you know, we could
Is he wearing sleeves now on his knees? Christ, okay.
take that approach in general, you know. So
Holy shit.
that's the other thing.
You know, see, when you lift concentrically, it makes you weak. Powerlifting makes you weak. It takes away your abilities to be good in sports. That's why these powerlifters, it's not a carryover to any sport. Why is bodybuilding carried over to every sport? Well, it tells you in science, because agility and stuff, you move. Because we lift eccentrically. All bodybuilding is lifting eccentrically. That makes you stronger and faster. You understand me? If you squat like Blaha, look at this squat. Look at this.
really heavy work, those variations,
If you squat like him doing these concentric squats, they weaken your knees. But when you do eccentric squats, they strengthen your knees, they regenerate them, they make them stronger. So they make you more agile, more faster. They make you faster, stronger, bigger, more myofibulars in series and parallel. Get it? But this shortens, this causes the myofibular to shorten in series. So it makes it worse. And it fucks your knees doing this, these partial reps, these concentric reps. They fuck you. They make you weak. That's why Blaha can't do any sports. He doesn't sprint. He doesn't do anything. Because powerlifting is shit. It weakens you.
avoid overuse, and they figured that out.
Now, have you figured it out, you people? Have you figured it out? Eccentric exercise is king because it makes you better at every kind of sport. It makes you fucking super strong. Get it, man? But powerlifting, it weakens you. It makes you weak.
Like Louis Simmons figured that out at Westside decades ago, right? We changed the max lift every week. Switch bars, switch bands, switch change, switch ranges of motion. The overuse just goes away. You don't get beat up the same way, right? Because the stress is
He is beat up. Look at his body. He's
changed
slow.
on everything, on the tendons, on the joints. There's something to be said for the same thing for all of our hypertrophy, because then we talk about, well, what do we mean by overuse? Well, too much volume.
Watch, it's concentric too here.
Repeating the exact same movement pattern too much. So how do we get around that?
There you go. That's as far as he's gonna go, and he's holding on. So he's just kind of, this exercise is dumb too. He's bouncing up and down, really. He's just bouncing.
No, we do variations, change stances, change bars, change movements, especially on some of the smaller stuff. Like let's say we're going to hammer.
Again, his butt is sticking out. This is concentric. This is not eccentric. I'm telling you, man.
Super hard, man. We need some different movements to keep those elbows safe.
Yeah, there you go.
All
right. Let's go see what else he's got here, because this is going to take forever watching this shit.
There's no issues there.
Look, he's got chains on here. So it goes up heavy, but when it goes down light. But would it really matter? He's going to drop it, most likely. I don't know. Let's see what he does.
So, again, same thing here.
Again, he dropped it. He went with the weight down, but he dropped it. It bounced. So go up heavy to weaken yourself, but go down, drop the weight. So don't do any eccentric to strengthen your body, because all the strength comes from eccentric. All the pulling on your muscle and your bone comes from the eccentric going with gravity. He's going against gravity. It's going to weaken you. It's kind of obvious.
Like on the deadlifts, I deadlift heavy every week. So then I have weeks where, like that week, I did like 5.
Yes. And you deadlift like that, and it weakens you. If you meet some guy in the street that's strong, he can beat you up, bro. He's going to knock out Blaha. Blaha's been knocked out. He's been punched in the eye and a bunch of weird stuff. I don't know. He's been punched in the face. Me, I've never been punched in the face. I've been hit in that side of my head because I'm intelligent enough to get there. To get hit there, I would never... If I know somebody's going to try to attack me, I make sure they hit me in the side of my head, in the skull. If they're going to punch, they're going to punch the skull. They're never going to get me in my face because I'm paying attention, at least. Even when I'm not paying attention, I'm still paying attention. So if they're going to hit me, it's in the side of my head. See what I mean? I'm not stupid. That's stupid.
Doing a really, really heavy all-out set. Come in and do some moderately heavy.
So if you think I'm a stupid person, you're wrong. I beat everything on YouTube. You know how many times I've been hit on this channel with so many copyrights, this, that, whatever. I beat them all, bro. I beat them all. You want to know why? Because I always learn, and I never make the same mistakes. I learned from the first channel when I got the copyrights. I couldn't get rid of them. I knew I was going to lose my channel eventually, and then along came Blaha and hit me with the third strike. I lost my channel. It was unappealable because they say 3 strikes and you're out. So how could you appeal something on 3 strikes, even if it wasn't copyright? See what I'm trying to explain to you? But me, I got a lot smarter now. I figured out YouTube and everything. I never make the same mistakes like twice, even if I ever make a mistake. But Blaha, he makes mistakes. It's over and over and over again. He never learns from his mistakes.
With chains, okay, and do multiple sets. They did like 5 work sets with that, right? That sort of stuff works, right? It works. Again, rotate.
It works. I should try to appeal that what do you call it? That copyright strike by Blaha. I should try to do something. I don't know. You never know. Maybe I could get rid of it. Who the fuck knows? And get back my old channel. I don't know. It's better to have 2 channels. 2 channels are stronger than 1. That's for sure.
In the movements, rotating rep ranges. This is the stuff that we do to avoid injury. This is how we avoid injury. One of the best things we can do, because again, sometimes beating those same movements, particularly some of the deep stretch position movements and stuff, over and over and over, leads to tendonitis, leads to inflammation, leads to injuries. Okay. Overuse. So again, exercise variation. It matters. It helps, especially for people who want to.
This doesn't enhance your performance. Myofibulars and nuclei enhance your performance. If you're not getting myonuclei and you're not getting any fucking myofibular growth in parallel and series, then guess what? These sarcomeres, you are not enhancing your performance. That's it. It's really simple. You're getting better at doing these exercises, these powerlifting, phony, fake, accessory powerlifting exercises, but you yourself are not increasing your performance. You're not enhancing your performance. You're not, because only these myofibulars and these nuclei, they enhance your performance. Okay, dude? It's really simple. And that's a carryover to every sport. So this is not a carryover.
Push a fair amount of training volume. You start wanting to take volumes pretty high when you're a pretty strong person. Variation.
Wow, this is just shit, man. Shit training, garbage. What else does he have? Or is that it?
It's a valuable tool in your toolbox. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say.
Yes, it's a valuable tool in your toolbox, man. I don't even understand anything he's talking about in this video. He's just like off on a tangent. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends.